I am Henry, and now in this episode, I'm going to try and get what could be one of the UK's tattiest Porsche 944s to pass an MOT. Well, that's the plan anyway. It's going to involve getting it running right, fixing all the rust, making sure we've got lights, indicators, horns, all that type of stuff. So sit back, relax, and watch me probably have a really tough time trying to get this through an MOT. Now, if you're not from the UK and you're wondering what is an MOT is our kind of roadworthiness test in the UK. So it goes and gets inspected, and the brakes get tested, all the lights, it has a look underneath for any corrosion, all that type of stuff, just to make sure it's fit to go on the roads and not to be a hazard to anyone. Yeah, so we've got to fix some rust. We've got to get it running right. I have already done an episode on this where I picked it up from Nino from Not Economically Viable, and we tried to get it running right, and we kind of succeeded, but not really. So we need to do that. Now I'm waiting for some parts to arrive to fix all these other bits, but I'll get onto that in a minute. My priority today is to do things that I already have in stock. So stuff I can do now without having to wait for stuff to arrive. Let me show you. So this sill has gone. It is destroyed, it's rusty. It needs to be at least repaired to get it through an MOT. So I have this section here, which I shall be able to cut this out, fix whatever's going on underneath, and then weld that in its place. The weather is not on my side today, it is pouring down. I'm blowing a gale, so really good welding conditions. And just so happens that the side that needs to be welded is the bit that's not under the carport. Also ideal. I might see if I can get the Porsche started. Or no, actually I can't do that because it's got no steering wheel and I can't be bothered fitting one. So it looks like I've just got to deal with it and get wet, doesn't it? Right, at least I've got somewhere dry-ish to work now. It's going to be a bit noisy, but it's going to stop most of the rain hitting my back, which will be nice. So now we can start doing this. Right, that's holding together just on this very stormy day. So the car is jacked up. I've just supported it underneath something that looked hard. Get this wheel off so we've got better access into there, where I can already see it's not just surface, it's definitely going back, which is ideal. So yeah, let's try and fix some of that. Right, I apologise, but the camera is going to be moving around a lot, and you might be able to hear a load of background noise, which is my compressor. But we will try and avoid too much of it. Right, as you can see, we've definitely got better access now. To be honest, it's not as bad as I feared. No, not as bad really. Especially for just an MOT fix, it should be all right. You can see in there, so we can put some box section in there, or make some box section to kind of follow that same pattern. And then hopefully that bit there is solid and we can just do another patch there, keeping this line intact. Obviously the main sill will fit underneath this panel, and this panel will kind of go on top because that's the wing. But if I can cut this off, we can kind of get a good idea of how then we tackle the rest of it, and how far back it goes. So I think what I'll probably do is put you on a time lapse whilst I attempt to kind of cut this back as far as I can get it. Right, I have taken my contraption down because the sun has kind of come out. It did its job, it kept me dry for a bit and allowed me to get a head start. So, this is what it looks like now. So that line there is the maximum point where I can go to allow that to fit. So that is staying and it won't be touched. Well, that's the plan anyway. As you can see, there's rust all the way around here, in here and down here. So my first job is going to be to replace this bit. So I'll make a strip of metal, and the same as that, and then I'll clamp it in and cut both of them out and then weld it in, and that'll give me a solid bit to weld onto. And then I'll just start kind of fabricating up all of this bit, all of this bit, to allow me to then put that on there like that. Oh, that is going to be the plan anyway. So I suppose there's nothing else for it, just to kind of start going at kind of trying to weld things in. Now, if you've not watched any of my content before and any of my welding and all that type of stuff, you'll know I'm not a professional welder. I just kind of stick things together. I've got a gasless MIG welder that uses flux core wire, and for conditions like this where it's windy and all that type of stuff, it is perfect because you don't need any shielding gas, but it doesn't leave the prettiest welds, and it's reasonably hard to get a good weld with. But I've kind of got my own little solutions to how to do that. So it will be stuck and it will be solid. It just won't be pretty, which is fine. I don't need pretty. So let's get to kind of starting to build up some metal and kind of jigsaw this into some sort of solid state, which will be nice, won't it? This is what I have now, just to complete this bit off. Now you can see down here the metal is really thin, but that is spot welded on to the piece behind. So I don't really want to mess with that. Same with these bits here. So my plan is to weld this in. I will blow through all these points, I know that, but as long as I get some solid welds around here, then I can go back over these bits and build it up with weld, and then grind it back, and hopefully the weld itself will burn away any of the rust until it gets a solid metal and can kind of stick. And then I will probably do some sort of small runs on the back as well, just to weld it in from underneath. And then I'll do the same here. I'll put some tacks trying to build it up and then grind it back, then try and grind all this back inside here as well. And once that's done, I can kind of start with this bit coming down and then that bit to there, I think, anyway. But I'll have to do that bearing in mind this panel. So let's tack that in so we can remove our clamps and then weld it all the way up. I recommend you disconnect the battery for this. I have not. I don't want to put much power into this because it will just blow through. I don't think this metal's quite as thick as it was on the MG that I've just welded, and the piece of metal that I'm putting in is a lot thicker than the stuff that's already there. But let's give it a go and see what it welds like. A ground would be helpful. Right, that's tacked in place. So now we can go ahead and just build it up, probably go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and just spread the heat around a little bit, but get some nice welds. help if I could see anything. Right, let's clean this mask up. So you can kind of see what I mean now, how it's burning through the metal that was kind of thin there, but going through into the bottom bit, which is fine. I'll just have to build that weld up a bit. I'm finding it really hard to see though. I need a new welding mask, definitely. This one's all scratched up and horrible. You always find more holes when you start welding than what you first thought. And you think to yourself, how far do I go? I find if you use, on a gasless MIG, if you use lots of stick out when you do those thin bits of metal, you do get a little bit of a better kind of, basically you've just got less power going through it. Now, I warned you, doesn't look pretty, does it? But we've kind of put some fresh metal in all of this. So I think once we grind all this back, it'll look all right. And it'll be strong enough anyway. I might put some welds just on the back of this piece, but you're not gonna be able to see that. So I'll just do that quick and then we'll grind all the front section back. Now, I wouldn't necessarily always grind these welds back, but I've got other welds or other pieces of metal to stick onto them, so I need them to be flush this time. Maybe not the ones that are covering up the random holes. Maybe I'll leave those, but the other bits do need to be flush. Now that it's all ground back, it doesn't look too bad, does it? It's solid, it's in there. Can't get to my grinder down there, which is fine. So what I need to do is convert all this rust now that I couldn't get to. So I can do that using a metal conversion thing. So I'll basically brush on this metal converter, metal converter. You got to keep it damp for like half an hour-ish, and then you just rinse it off. And it should just convert the metal, and then I can paint inside there and kind of protect it all. So that's the plan. I'll do that at the same time as making the panel for this bit, because I need to do this here. You can see it's got this kind of shape to it here, kind of bends up on itself and to here. That's going to be a bit tricky, but I've got an idea. So with this stuff, so it's Por 15 metal prep, rust remover and pre-primer. I've had it for years. As you can tell, it's green from when I painted the MG. It's not really nice stuff, I'm going to be honest. So you don't really want to get it all over your hands and stuff, and I recommend that you wear gloves and stuff, but I'm lazy. Pour some of that in there, so you've got a decent amount. Get your brush, old brush, because it ruins them, and then just soak that in this stuff. Get in that kind of drain hole there, because that'll be rusty, and just go around like that and convert it. Get plenty on, and then make sure there's nothing underneath it. And I'll come back in 5 minutes and do it again for the next half an hour. Is it half an hour? Yeah, 30 minutes. And then I'll rinse it off and we can prime it. I will now try and make this bit whilst that's all doing that. Right, for this bit I am going to use a bit of CAD, some cardboard aided design. So obviously I'll trim that bit, get something a similar profile to what you want to kind of bend it round. And that, then at that point there, I'm going to bend it. And then what we'll do is then we just kind of mark on the inside where that was, that bend, because obviously the cardboard doesn't really stay. And then use that bit there that we have as I got a mark. And you can see there now we've got that bit there, so we can mark that there and that there. This is all really basic, and I will obviously smarten it up. You can kind of see we now have the rough kind of design there of what it should kind of look like. That needs to bend back a bit. Like that. Like that. Draw a line from that point to that point. Cut down it. Well, that should be our little repair section there. Once I cut it all out, it should be good. So while I'm at it, let's just re-wet that. I have kind of realised that I forgot to check what time it was, so we'll just check to see what it looks like after the conversion. It should go like a blacky colour, or the rust. But I am going to go and cut this out in the garage from a piece of metal, and then we can think about doing all these other bits. Right, the metal that I'm using is just a bit too thick to bend it in situ, so I've just started to roughly cut out that. You can see I've done 2 bends there and there, like that. Then what I'm going to do is just mark on here where I need to then flip that back up again. And then that should come round to there, and then I can trim off this top bit when I know the right kind of sizes. Right, so I've made this bit, which fits in there nicely. You can see it there. So I'll be able to weld that in. That has light turned a darker colour, so that's all good. So now I can just rinse it with a little bit of water, which is very counterintuitive, but that's what the instruction says. You rinse it off with a little bit of water, and you get a cloth and just try and dry it down a little bit. And then we'll put some, once it's dry, we'll put some weld-through primer all in here. And then once this bit's on, then we'll spray inside here with some proper stuff before we start on this bit. So you can see now how it's basically just a big jigsaw puzzle. Just build it up until you have something resembling what you want. The heat of the weld I'm going to do should dry this off. I can't get to the back of this, so I might not do the weld through primer because I can just spray down here, so I might just go ahead and try and start welding it. I think the best thing to do might be just try and hold it like that and put a tack on it. That's kind of held in place, some crap tacks. So now I should be able to complete the weld. It's slightly inset, but that's fine because we can put a skim of filler on it, which is perfect. I've lost my actual proper chisel, which is annoying for spot welds and stuff, but we make do. So we need to kind of do that. We need to tack here first to get the right shape. Okay. Not perfect, but that is kind of tacked into position. that. Right, okay. Let me put you on a time lapse now and I'll just start buzzing all that in. Right, now I think we have been reasonably, I can't talk today. I think we have been reasonably successful so far. We've kind of made things more solid, some tricky welds there, not the most high qualityest stuff I've done, to be honest, but it certainly will do the job. Next is the tricky bit, the bit that I've been kind of putting off a little bit because now we're getting into awkward shapes and kind of hitting in the dark really of how to kind of do this. I'll show you. You can see I've kind of just primed in there and kind of protected it a little bit. I'll do it some more in a minute after I've done this bit. So I've got to kind of cut this rust out, and then I've kind of made that template by using the back of that, and that's going to need to go there, obviously in metal form. I just don't know where, because I've not cut this bit out yet to fit here. Because it's got two edges, it's going to be too tricky to do that bit. So I might end up chopping that corner off there, and then I can then lay it on top, because at the moment I can't because that catches. I can then get this in the right position, which means I can get that in the right position, if you get me. It's all just a big jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? So yeah, I've just got to kind of do what I always do, my mantra, if it were. Start, see what happens. Start cutting things away. Metal can always be made to be there again. Is that right? Don't know why I can't talk today. It's not ideal when you're trying to make a video, is it? Okay, let's start cutting metal away. A lot of faffing and guessing. I managed to cut out this shape out of cardboard. It goes like that, and then bends around like that. If you look at that in there, that follows that contour there, and then start to bend up exactly where that point there will end, which that point there is open at this bottom bit here to allow water to drain out the sill. And you can see it's got like a little gully there. So I need to cut this out of metal and then weld that to there and then bend it round. Right, it's getting quite late in the day, but I've kind of made that roughly in the right shape for now. And I've tacked it in with a really small tack. I'm just gonna kind of offer this up and just see how that lines up with the bottom of that and whatever. Now, granted, this is going to be quite difficult for you to see, but what I want to happen is that to be at the right angle, so that when that does go in, yeah, I think I can work with that. I might have to, when it comes to it, kind of trim this a bit and stuff like that, but it will work. Once this is welded in, I can then like cut triangles and squeeze that in and kind of shape that to the right point. So let's get that welded. As you can tell, I'm just kind of tacking it in the right place at the moment. I've got a bit of a gap there. I'm gonna have to obviously weld. See there, should be able to get that. Not too many issues. So, the last thing you saw was me welding on that panel inside. I've kind of jumped ahead a little bit, so I apologise. but I will recap everything in a minute. I have the wing replacement or sill end or whatever you want to call it in the right place, I think. So I just took away the corner there and I've screwed it all into position, just roughly. I've put one there to bring the back bit closer in. So that kind of is in the right position. What I need to do, you see where I've drawn this here? I need to weld a plate on here, on the other side of this, that goes underneath this sill and down. Once I've welded that on, come to about here, I'll be able to screw on these holes and bring that up as well. And hopefully then leave that line that's meant to be there to kind of signify where the sill is and where the wing is. But I've run out of time today. But yeah, it's looking quite good for a day's work. I think that's not too bad. Good morning. I am back in the garage and I'm going to finish off this rear quarter-ish thing of the Porsche 944. But before I do, I just wanted to show you my t-shirt. So this is available now on my shop. It's super good quality. It's like really, really thick. It's got like HJRgarage on the back as well. Can I show you that? Just on the top. Really good, really happy with it. Really happy with it. So yeah, it's going to be keeping me warm today. So yeah, I've got to finish off this rear quarter. Now I realised last night when I was looking through some of the footage from yesterday, I missed off some of the time lapses they didn't kind of film. So I'll go back over stuff that I missed and kind of show you what I did, if you like. But my plan is this today. So obviously I screwed that roughly into place last night. And you can see it's a bit misshapen and stuff, so I need to kind of figure that out. Now, I was going to weld a panel here that will go underneath here. What I'm going to do is the opposite. I'm going to put a panel that's on the other side of this and coming out that way, so that I can screw this bit to that and get that shape properly. Because what it'll do essentially is move that out to the point that I need it, because at the moment that doesn't really want to move very much at all. So yeah, and then the bottom here as well, I'm going to have to use the grinder once that's in and just cut a slot down there to kind of mimic how that should look. Because if you look on the other side, which I don't think I'm going to replace because it's not too bad, you can see there's like an indent here. The only bit of rust on this one is just that little bubble there, so I think that's okay for now. That can wait. So yeah, that line there I've got to kind of replicate to make it look right. What these do is mean that when I take these off and pull this panel back out again, I've got one underneath as well, under there, that I can put it back in exactly the same place. That's why you use these really. I can drill some holes in this, in between these screw holes, for my kind of plug welds, and then weld it all the way along the bottom. All the way down there. As you can see, I've tucked it up underneath. Now I was going to butt it together, but I don't think it's worth it. A bit of filler on there will cover that kind of seam and it'll make it a stronger kind of connection. So let's unscrew all these, take this off and I'll show you what I did underneath. We'll prep all the underneath and then weld in a panel here. All right, so we'll get these off. On there. There's already quite a lot of filler on this panel, so I'll definitely have to, go on, get out. I'll definitely have to grind this back afterwards and before I weld it probably as well. Now this one's annoying, but I had to do it to bring the panel in, so I'll have to just plug weld that afterwards. And then there's one at the bottom. Add one clamp here. That should come out. So that is kind of ready and prepped, this panel here. So that can go over here. I need to grind some things back in here. Let me get you in to show you. So I need to repair this, which is obviously very thin and now got a hole in it. And I need to repair that. I had to cut this and cut it and kind of fold it back on itself to get the right shape. So that needs welding up. And I need to just spray inside here. I also need to grind that back flat where I've put all that weld. Right, there we go. That's kind of prepped. Now, I welded up this side here. I've drilled holes. So the bigger holes are where I'm going to plug weld. And the smaller ones are where my screws go through, which I'll have to weld as well. They're done. That's nice and strong on there. It's not going anywhere. I've ground back that corner a little bit. Again, this doesn't need to be pretty. It's all going to be hidden. I'll put some wax oil up underneath once I've finished all this welding. I've sprayed it all with weld-through primer. So that will slot underneath here. On top of there, I'll screw that in there, screw all these ones around, and then we'll be able to weld. I just need to wait for everything to dry. Yeah, so this is just a quick kind of sill repair. It's not the full bifters really, but hopefully we'll still make it look nice. And I'm not sure how I'm going to finish it off yet. Maybe some like stone chip and then spray it body coloured or something. I'm not sure yet. Again, the car's so tatty. As long as it's solid, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Just get it solid. There's a few other bits I'm looking at as I'm walking around thinking, oh, that could do with something. I think the one thing I will repair is this boot. Let me show you. So you can see that rust there on the boot. When you open the boot, are the keys in here? No one's stolen it yet, which is unfortunate. So when you open, you can see that that is just kind of rotten and gone. So it shouldn't be too difficult to kind of cut along there, put a patch in, then put a patch in there and grind it back. Everything else around here looks all right. It's just that really. There's a few wavy bits and stuff, but as I say, let's just get it solid rather than perfect. There's so many stuff like this. It needs a full respray. I'm fully prepping and everything. It's just not sure. I'm just not sure if it's something I want to do. Right, this is all dry. Let's bolt it up and weld it up. Right, I'll do a full reveal in a minute, but just thought I'd let you know. I'm just going to weld this into there and then grind it back and then weld it on the other side as well. I knew that mangled under tray would come in useful for something. Very good spark protection. Right, you can kind of see what I mean by an easy way to do it now. So I left it longer and I've ground back the edge. So that hasn't got a weld on it yet. But you can see the gap between the two pieces of metal. So I'll just run a weld down there now and then grind it back again. And it's an easier way just to get it flush to this, even though there will be some filler on this because I've done like an underlap on the weld. But yeah, and then I can grind in here with my little needle grinder or file grinder. It should be all good. Whew. That was quite a few hours of work, that. Yeah, I think it looks all right, to be fair. It's not the best job I've ever done, but it's not the worst either, so that's good. Let me turn the camera around and show you. So there's the repair panel. You can see it kind of welded most of the way down here. You'll see on the time lapse, if it's clear, I did a weld there, weld there, weld there, and then just slowly filled the gaps up, if you like. They were all puddle welds. I had to do a few more there to bring this out because it had fallen in a little bit. That's the end there. You'll see the pitting. That's because it's flux core wire, and the flux just pops out. I could go back and fill every one of those in. It's not worth it. It's strong enough. It's going to get a skimmer filler over it. It'll be fine. I need to do something with that there, because although I've managed to get the gap, it's not perfect, so I'll probably use my finger and put some filler in the middle there as well. The rest of it looks all right. I only warped it a little bit, and that was there, whilst I tried to weld through to the other side. I've done welds at the back here, around there. I did one too many drills for the plugs, which is annoying, but never mind. And if you can see, I've got full access to it from in here as well. So you can see the little gap at the bottom there. That's to let any water or anything out. So I can wax oil all inside here, which is good. It was just behind this little vent here. So yeah, reasonably happy with that. It's a good start anyway. Now I need to have a think about what to do next. I'm going to prep this, put some primer on it and stuff, but I'm not going to do any filling or anything yet, because I'm going to wait until I do some of the rest of the bodywork. To do that, I think, if I do any of the rest of the bodywork. Right, that's kind of primed up. Now it's primed up, you can see some of the imperfections, so some of the hammer rash here where I try to get it into the right shape and things, but it'll all be a really small skimmer filler to fix it. So I'm happy with that. Maybe even fiberglass just for these thicker, slightly thicker bits, and then, I don't know, but we'll sort it. But for now, I'm going to leave it like that. Managed to keep that door gap quite nice and stuff. Yeah, looks all right. Now I'm going to try and fix that kind of boot bit. I just thought, whilst I've got all my kind of fabrication stuff out, ow, I always hurt myself, don't I? Oh, that's definitely solid, that bit of metal that I just welded in. Yeah, I'm going to fix this bit at the back of the boot, which currently looks like this. I've got my trusty fire protection guard thing. I'm going to get my grinder in, go back onto some of this rust and just see how far it goes till I get to clean metal, and then probably just weld something in like that and bend it or whatever. We'll see when we get there. But I'm going to start off by grinding some of this back. At least I can stand up for a bit here anyway, which is nice. I'd love for the day where I can have a proper ramp. Right, that repair is now done as well. Now, I finished that a little bit quicker than I thought. So what I think I'm going to do is just put a really small skim of filler over it and sand it down a little bit, just to kind of finish this corner off a little bit. It's one of those, it's like, how far do I go? I need to make the decision of what I'm doing with this car really, but let's start with just doing that. this.
Daddy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can you take it off? Can you screw it that way? Like this, look. I've definitely reminded myself how much I dislike kind of the painting process. I repainted that whole MG and it's tedious, isn't it? I did the whole car on that one and I've only got 2 little bits on this. But anyway, the kind of boot bit is pretty much done filling wise. I've painted it with some primer and that looks quite good. I'm going to have to obviously remove this badge and get a new one at some point. But yeah, that will look really nice once it's sprayed the same colour as the car, if I do decide to do that. This one is obviously taking a little bit more time. Now I had it really nice, there was a few pits and then I kind of went overboard with the filler. So it is what it is. There's going to be a lot of sand in there. So I'm going to, yeah, do that at my own pleasure, I think. Yeah, I had that almost there and then I just kind of, I looked at it and it just looked like it was a bit concave. So I thought, right, let's put a decent skim on and then we'll sand most of that back. I just got a few low points, hammer rashes and kind of slight warps where I welded and stuff where I need to fill. So I'll sort that and then I'll prime it the same as the back and then we'll kind of move on, I think. So yeah, I'll say bye for tonight. I'm going back to work tomorrow, but I'll continue on this episode next week when I'm free. So I'll see you then. Good morning, or afternoon actually, because I've been working on my MG all morning. I've been doing the welding and I've been trying to do some research on this engine starting problem because it's definitely something. It will start eventually, but not reliably. So I've been pointed in the direction of the speed and reference sensors by the 944 owners kind of forum on Facebook, and they've given me a YouTube video, which I can't remember the name of, but I will link in the description, to use on this exact issue. So I've got to measure some resistances in these sensors to see if they are functioning correctly. Right, so in here, you've got these 3 pins. Measuring across these 2, and I'm getting literally nothing. It's like it's open circuit. So that's on both sensors, which is a pain. But I think that's my issue. I think those 2 sensors, which are down there, are not giving a signal to the ECU like it should do to tell the engine what position it's in. Good morning. Right, we are back on the Porsche today. Basically, I've got no parts. So I need to do some of the bits and bobs that I can just get on with what I've got. So I think that's going to be fixing some of these bumpers. So the rear bumper, I think I'm going to do today, is a fiberglass kind of reproduction panel, which has definitely seen better days. So I'm going to sand it all back, look at what damage there is, try and fix that damage. I've never worked with fiberglass before, really. I've done the odd bits, but never any repairs. So this could be interesting because I don't really know what to do. But I'm not going to let that stop me. We're just going to go for it and see if I can kind of make it look presentable and that it's meant to be, look like it's meant to be that, if you get me. I figured out, I think, the issue with the engine. I think it's the speed and reference sensors. I measured the ohms across the original sensors and they are not what they should be. So I think that's one of the reasons the engine's not starting properly. So anyway, let's get on with doing some fiberglass repairs on this bumper. So this is the bumper we're going to kind of look at first. Now you can see it's split here. So that needs fixing. It needs completely sanding down because it's a really bad paint job. And it's got just damage on these corners that needs kind of fixing and whatever. So I think the best thing to do is to get my compressor fired up and give this all a really good sand back to kind of the fiberglass. And then we can look at all these repair sections that I need to do and then do the repairs. Oh, well, considering I spent pretty much all day doing that, I feel like I've not really got very far. Bumper is kind of primed, as you might have seen, but it's revealed lots of kind of imperfections. I've tried to swallow as little dust as possible, but I don't think it's worked all that well. So that definitely looks better, but on these bits, the paint has reacted with the primer a little bit. It's pretty smooth, but there's just a few imperfections that I can go over. So at least putting the primer on has made me see what kind of the issues are with it. And then we've got this, which I kind of did as an afterthought because I was letting the fiberglass dry on that and I thought I'd give this a go. And it does look good. I've just put some knifing putty on that I need to kind of take back, but I think I've managed to get that looking quite nice. And you can, that's all now nice flat, so it feels it anyway. So yeah, I'll be back on this tomorrow to carry on. Just these days just go so quickly, don't they? See you tomorrow. Good morning. I'm back on the Porsche. So I've got this temperature gauge, which I'm going to sensor that I'm going to fit, which will hopefully make that temperature gauge work. That's the first step on the engine stuff. Let me just show you what I've finished off kind of the other day with regards to some of the painting and things. So it was too wet the other day to paint, so I've kind of just sprayed that over with primer a little bit. It needs flattening back and a high build primer going on. Same with down there. And then I need to decide what I'm going to do with this paint, because I'm kind of fixing things whilst I'm waiting for parts to come. How far do I go with it? I'm really tempted to wrap this car. I've never wrapped a car before, and it'd be quite a cool thing to learn how to do. So I could potentially get everything kind of the right shape and primed, then a wrap on this car might be a possibility. It's just the roof that's kind of the one thing that's kind of putting me off, because the roof is all dented. And I don't know how to get the dents out of that roof and to get it back to the right shape. And I don't want to put a skimmer filler over the whole roof because that just seems like the wrong thing to do. So yeah, I need to have a think about that. But if I could at least get the rest of the body work so it's at least all flat, because it's so many dents and scratches and stuff. And then a wrap I think will improve it, at least for the next person to be able to drive around and stuff. So anyway, let's fit this temperature sensor. And see if that's the issue with the gauge in the car. It's not going to affect the running of the car because this is literally just for the gauge. So there is the old temperature sensor. You can see it there. Hopefully I can get it out without having to remove this kind of throttle body. We will see. Right, so last time when I turned the key, the temperature gauge just went all the way to the right. It's like it was too hot. So if I turn the key now, there you go, you can see it just jump up as it's reading something, but then it stays where it is. So that's good. Hopefully, obviously, not got much battery to actually start it, so we won't start it, but hopefully that will give me an indication of how hot the actual car is now. Now, I've been summoned to help at a friend's house because they've just moved in and they need a load of stuff doing. So that's all I've got time for today on this Porsche, but I've got all my other parts coming, so we will start fitting them in the next kind of, well, it'll be over a week now, but it'll be in this episode. So I'll be back with you in a few seconds. Good morning. It is very blooming cold today. So might be a little bit hard to work, but we'll give it a go. I am going to change the speed and reference sensor and the DME temperature sensor on this Porsche 944 today. That's my plan anyway, see if we can get this engine running right. Yeah, I'll show you the sensors. So that is the temperature sensor, and that goes there. And these are the speed and reference sensors, which is the same part number. One's a speed sensor, one's a reference sensor, and they look like that. And this is the back of the engine, and they go down there. Now, there is a way of setting those speed and reference sensors because you need to adjust the height from the flywheel. When I come to do that, I'll let you know. It involves gluing a washer to the end of the old sensor, loosening off the bracket, and the bracket's on like a pivot, like an alternator bracket would be. And you loosen both of the bolts off on the pivot, and then you kind of drop it down until the washer, which is an 8mm washer, touches the flywheel. Then you set it, and then you remove that old sensor with the washer glued on, and then you can install all the new ones. I'll put you on a time lapse and I'll get all these sensors changed, and then we'll see if it starts easy, right? So I have just taken this one sensor out here. Let me see if I can focus in on this. You can see witness marks on it. So you remember me telling you about how to set the height for it? I don't think anyone's set the height, so I don't think it's been reading correctly at all. It shouldn't have witness marks like that on it at all. So let's see if I can glue an 8mm washer to this and set the height again. And maybe once we install these new sensors, it might just work. As you can probably tell, that was very difficult. That there, with that sensor, I've still got one sensor plugged in. Then you can see that that now moves up and down. Because I've loosened both of these Allen keys off here, and there's one underneath here. So that now moves up and down. So I can fit that sensor with the washer in to that hole there. I've got a cloth in there to stop anything falling down into the flywheel, or housing anyway. So let's put that old sensor in with the glued on washer, and then we'll set them, tighten those 2 bolts back up. So the Allen key there and the other one below there. Then we know it'll be at the right height, and then we can install the brand new sensors. So here's my sensor with the washer glued on. Just need to wait for it to dry. Just iodized it on. The sensor's now useless anyway. So this is like a height setting thing now, because you want it to just, you want this pickup to be just a bit higher than the teeth of the flywheel. I think is the point. Not touching, which I think this one was. Right, here's that sensor with the washer. That's all dry. So I'm going to install that now, adjust that down, tighten it up, and then install these new sensors. So I'll stick you on time lapse so I can do that. Right, those new speed and reference sensors are in. We might as well just try and crank the engine and see if it kind of works. That was so hard. My fingers are numb because it is like 2 degrees out here, Celsius. So it is cold. Really tricky to get all the nuts and bolts and stuff in. Hopefully I put the wires back in the same place. We'll see. One thing to try if it doesn't start is to swap them around. But anyway, we'll see. Right, let me set you up and we'll try and turn the key and see if it might need to pump some fuel through. But then hopefully it'll start just on the key. That is the idea anyway, so fingers crossed. I realise I haven't shown you the new sensors, but it literally looks exactly the same as the old ones, just new. So imagine it. Let's get the key. I've got a feeling I'm going to have to put the drum back on because I don't think it's going to have enough battery to start, but you never know. Needs the drum pack. A lot of comments saying I shouldn't use this. It's one of those things really, needs must, isn't it? Maybe this isn't the issue. Not even trying to find out. Have we broken it more? Oh, I accidentally crossed these wires over, do we think? So they are now swapped over. I can hear them clicking now. What a nightmare this car is. I'm just going to check if there's fuel again. You can see that drip in there. So yeah, there's fuel coming out of that. So we've got fuel to the rail. Okay, that's run out of charge again. Same old story. Okay, the Jag's now hooked up. Porsche's on life support machine. So we're still having the same issues here, aren't we? Probably doesn't help that it's freezing cold today as well. Definitely thought that would fix it though, these sensors. Right, I've taken the spark plug out here. I want to see if we have actually got a spark. So, can you check for me? That spark? So we do have spark, which I thought we did, because it does spark off and go eventually. I'm just getting a bit lost now of what's left to kind of fix or try. The only thing I think of is that fuel delivery, which we've changed the pump. Maybe we need to change the filter. Maybe it's just not getting enough fuel to start, but then that spark plug was wet, so I don't know. And then you got to wonder, well, okay, do we need to do a compression test? Are we not got any compression in the cylinders, so it doesn't want to start? It's so frustrating. What an absolute pain in the arse this is. I'm running out of things to check, to be honest. And I'm running out of time as well. It's now starting worse than it did before. Probably because it's so cold today. So I don't think I've made anything any worse. I was really hoping those speed and reference sensors would be the problem. But I can hear the injectors clicking. We've got spark. So I'm really struggling now. What on earth could it be? I don't know. I'm gonna have a think about it and then I'll come back to it, because it's just one of those really frustrating issues, isn't it? Right, I have been in work for the last week or so. So I've not been able to work on the Porsche, but I am back now, and I was kind of thinking about what to do with it. I think the only thing left is to do these injectors. I was trying to put off doing that because injectors are expensive. However, I found these ones for only 40 quid for. I don't know how someone can make an injector for £10, brand new, but we'll give it a go. The reviews were okay, so if they're good, I'll link them in the description. If they're not, I won't. So let's change these injectors. I've also got a fuel filter to do because I don't want to clog up some new injectors with crap fuel, so I'll also change the fuel filter, I think, and then we'll just get some. We'll just see if it starts. If it doesn't, I don't know. So hopefully this works. Right, so they're the new injectors installed. I've not put any of these on yet, and I've left these caps on. Just because I want to do the fuel filter next. So let me show you the fuel filter. So this is the one I've bought, and it fits up there. So that's the rear driver's side wheel. So it's up there in that kind of recess, which is going to be great. I've clamped closed the fuel, so not all of the tank is going to drain, but whatever's in the line will drain out, unfortunately, but it just is what it is. You're not going to be able to see this at all. So I'm just going to get on with changing it even though, as I said to you before, it looks pretty new, but it's just another thing I can just check and kind of make sure is good. It's cheap part, so I might as well replace it. Right, that's the new fuel filter fitted. So we've had new fuel pump, new fuel line, new fuel filter. Right, we have new fuel filter and new injectors installed. I was going to test them outside of the kind of engine, but the clips that hold the injectors in on these new ones probably factor the price of them, I don't know. Don't hold them in properly, so I've got to bolt them in. Basically, I fired up the fuel pump and the injector just flew off because the clip failed, essentially. But the bolts that hold the fuel rail in will also hold the injectors down, so that shouldn't matter. I've put the clip back in, it just doesn't seem to be doing much. But with the fuel rail bolted in, hopefully all of that will stay okay and pressurise, etc. We'll give it a go. We will, again, jump the fuel pump, trying to get some fuel to the rail straight away, and then I will try and start it. Right, let's bypass this fuel pump, or DME relay rather. All right, we're going to put this jumper pack on. It should stop flashing, I don't know why it's not. Come on, why are you not doing what you're meant to do? Got full charge. Yeah, we've got full charge. I feel like the fuel, the start motor might be stuck. One thing after another, isn't it? Starter motor's got to be stuck. See if I can just jump it into life. Nope. Okay. I'm gonna have to get under the car and try and figure out the starter motor. It's definitely not wanting to spin the engine over. You can only laugh, can't you? Jesus Christ, this car's fighting, isn't it? I'm trying to fix you. And let me give it a few more hits. It's like it doesn't want to live, this car. We have hammered that starter motor trying to get it going, so I'm not surprised. It's just, why now? Why now? I really don't want to change the starter motor. Right, I've jacked this side of the car up. Because I have brilliantly parked next to the wall, this is the gap I've got to go in and work. Now, I need to show you something. Are you ready? That is a big rip in the whole of the floor. And a dent. Now, obviously that's not my starting issue. But that's bad. Something has well and truly hit that. For it to rip the floor. Makes you think, like, what am I doing? Was this a parts car all along, really? I'm gonna try and take that starter motor out, leave the wires connected, and then turn the key and see if it spins. That's my plan, because I'm hoping it just got stuck. If I take it out, it should work again and I can install it. We'll see, I might have to order a new one. Right, you can see that the starter motor now is just hovering under the car. So I'm going to turn the key to see if that spins. Right, so the starter motor is still just clicking, it won't turn all the way around. So it needs to come out, which is fine. I'll take it out, maybe order a new one, I suppose. No, see, that should be enough power. I can hear it trying to go. Not enough to go. Okay, dead starter. So let's have a recap. What are we doing and where are we up to? So we've changed the injectors, fuel filter. In the last episode we changed the fuel pump and the fuel pressure regulator. So that whole fuel system is now sorted. So that should work when we can start the car. Since we've done all that, the starter motor decided to pack in before we can test it. I'm not going to spend any more time on it, just need a new one. So I'm going to have to pause this episode for a little bit until our new starter motor arrives. So once a new one arrives, we will get back on it. So I'll see you then. Right, it's a new day and I have a new starter motor. Well, a new old starter motor, but it's been bench tested and it works. So I need to install this. However, I don't know if you noticed, and I'll show you again, the wiring on that starter motor was not good at all. So I've also got a little bit of a wiring repair to do under there as well. But let's get this fitted. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get the car started finally. So yeah, let me show you what I have to do under the car. Now, you can see that lovely chock block there with a bit of wiring hanging out of it. So I can't, in good faith, keep that like that. It's just not the way I do things. So I'm going to solder or use a soldered joint underneath here and put in a proper new piece of wire with a crimped connection on to actually properly go onto the starter motor. So you're not going to be able to see it. So I'm going to do it all, fit the part, and then I'll show you afterwards. And then hopefully we can get this car started. And I can make a decision on that damage there, which is not good. That is the carpet I'm touching there, inside the car. Not ideal at all. Let's do that. Right, that starter motor is installed. New wire as well. So let's test it now before we drop the car down. So the spark plugs are still out, so it won't start. But we'll just see if it turns the engine over, eh? Hopefully it does. Right, let's see if you can now turn the engine over again. Or in neutral. Yes, we can. So let's put those spark plugs back in. Let's give it a bit more power. And then, you never know, it might just start. Right then, what do we think? Is it finally going to start? Or am I still going to be chasing a problem? Fingers crossed. I'm hoping it just needs to get a little bit of fuel in. I can hear the injectors clicking. Let's stick that fuel pump on for a bit by jumping the relay and see if we can get fuel to the rail properly. Right, we should have fuel at the rail now. I left that on for 30 seconds or so. Right, we're now getting a jump start from the Jag. We've still got the same issues. What on earth could this be? I was wondering, has the engine got really bad ground or something and it can't give these enough power? I can see the engine ground there, then it looks good. It is getting volts there. There's not as many as I thought it would have, but it is getting them. What is your problem? Ugh, it's so frustrating. Honestly, it's feeling like it might be something electrical now. Like there's something, whether it's the remnants of like an old alarm system or something. I know I need to sort some wiring out behind the dash. Unless there's like a start procedure that you're meant to do with a button or something like that. I know some of the 80s had that type of stuff where you had to like put in a code or something. It's weird, it only wants to start on the first couple of clicks of the starter motor, like it's before it's told it not to or something. You'd think the more you cranked it, it would just put more fuel and more spark in, and then it should fire up. But it only tries in like the first 2 seconds, so if you don't get it in those 2 seconds, it doesn't go. I don't think it's anything to do with the MAF sensor. I keep on plugging that in and unplugging it. It doesn't seem to make that much difference. I don't want to wear this starter motor out either. Failed. Well and truly failed. Honestly don't know what to do now. I'm going to keep plugging away and I will get back to you if I find anything. We are very definitely clutching at straws here. Well, I'm going to take this air filter off and just check that the flap in the mass airflow sensor isn't just fully stuck. Because I'm really struggling. Obviously the issue was nothing that I've done, which is a gigantic waste of money. At least it's got new parts on it, I suppose. But wow, some major issues with this car. That mass airflow sensor is moving nice and freely, which I suppose is a good thing. I'm going to try forcing that open a little bit so the engine thinks it's obviously needing more fuel because the air's got to be more. I'm going to try and cleaning this up. It ran on electrical cleaner, which is interesting. So it's definitely still a fuel delivery problem because as soon as we gave it some, it went. But why? I think I need to find out, because I can hear the fuel pump running. I think I need to find out what part of that DME relay tells the injectors to fire. Because I don't think that's happening. I don't think, because the DME relay is new, that's replaced. Something's wrong with the way that the injectors fire. Definitely. It can only be that, because they're new injectors now. It's running really, really sweet now. So strange. So very, very, very strange. I'm going to put that air filter back on. Try and maybe just take it for a test drive up and down the road. I suppose we've had relative success there. A small, very, very small, minute bit of success. But if nothing else, it's managed me to, or allowed me rather, to pull the Porsche in rather than have it backed in, and I can get round all the sides and everything now. It's good. Hopefully if I can start it again as well, it'll allow me to get the MG out, because the MG's been stuck in that garage because this has been in the way. You would never know now that it had problems starting, it's just idling nicely. Only thing is, it's just got very hot because I fixed that temperature gauge. I don't think the fan is working. So let's let that cool down. Oops, I forgot that I unplugged the cooling fans. That's the last thing I need, to blow a head gasket because of overheating or something. Luckily, I hadn't gone into the red yet. What a pain this car has been and is. I'll let it cool down and then I'll start it again and see what happens. Maybe it was a fuel, airlock in the fuel, it just needed a good run. I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced by that. But we'll see. There you go. Porsche did move. Still not right, is it? But I did just start it then. It started on the key again, but it is still a little bit warm. I don't know. I'll try it again in the morning to see if that turns on, then it was an airlock and we fixed it. But if it doesn't in the morning turn on, then there's something else wrong with it. I'm just looking around it and just trying to make a list in my head of everything it needs doing to it. And it's just, I haven't got enough memory to remember everything. It's got that many problems. Could we get it through an MOT? It's just stuff like the door handle. So the door handle is broken and it's the linkage. And the linkage that was in the car, which I thought was the right linkage, because I've just gone to fit it, is for the passenger side door. But the passenger side door works. So I've put it on here, because with it like that, you can press down on it and open the door now. But it won't attach into the handle, because that is the wrong way round. Looks like someone else has done that before me, doesn't it? It's looking at like that dent, that, the bonnet. Not only is it scratched, it's kind of wavy. It doesn't fit very well there. Those. You know when you really want to give a car love, but you just look at the amount of money it's going to cost, and you just, I don't know if my heart's in this one. I don't know. Right, I'll be back in the morning to do something on it. And I've got some big thinking to do of what I do with it. I would have loved, well, I'm not saying I won't, I would love to get it an MOT so that someone could have it as a running project. I think that might be my way to go, but it's got a hell of a lot of work to do to get to that. There's this I noticed as well. To me, that front wheel does not seem like it's in the middle of the wheel arch. It's just stuff like that. It might not be. And if it's not, why? I've got some big research to do, some big kind of decisions to make on this. Good morning, well, afternoon. I've been working on this Porsche for a good few hours already this morning. It didn't start again this morning. Turn the key, nothing. So, there's something wrong somewhere. So, what I've been doing is the job that I've been putting off. Sorting out the wiring underneath that, kind of underneath the dashboard at the end of the passenger footwell. And I've pulled out so many wires which just went to nowhere or did nothing or went to an old speaker system or an alarm system, or it was just a right mess. I'm still in the middle of it right now, but I'll show you just kind of what I've been doing. All of this has come out of it. So many earths, like, but going nowhere, not even connected to an earth. So many wires just in the middle of nowhere. So I'm just kind of, so you see that big, there you go, that big chunky wire there, the red one, that's taped into that really thin one. So again, I'm just going to get rid of that massive length of black wire, which is just goes to nowhere. They're kind of soldered together underneath that tape. And put a connector in between that and have it back to the way it should be. It's already looking a bit tidier. I know it doesn't look it, but it is already looking a bit tidier because I'm just tracing every single one of these where it's like taped and joined, and the guy's used, or girl or whoever, has just used random bits of wire. I'm just tracing each one of these like there. Stuff that's obviously not standard. Just tracing it back to where it should go, or where it looks like it should go. And yeah, trying to sort it out and just get it back to a normal state. But as you can probably tell, it takes quite a bit of brain power, which I'm severely lacking. So I'm just going through it all bit by bit. And what I'll do is, because wiring isn't the most fun thing in the world, is it? I will give you an update once it's all done, or at least I've made good progress on it and tidied it all back up again. Classic cars. This is where I prefer the age of cars like the MG and stuff, because the wiring is just kind of positives, negatives, and it's simple. And I know this is the same, but there's just so many of them because it had air conditioning. I've taken all the air conditioning wiring out because that was just in and doing nothing. And like that, like what was that? It was connected and it looked like it was. I think this car has had an aftermarket stereo system where the guy's butchered the wiring, or girl, and it's had an aftermarket alarm system which someone has done the same, but then they've both been disconnected at some point in its life, but the wiring hasn't been sorted out. I've got just this tiny hope that if I sort some earths out, or I sort something out in that mess of wiring, that's the problem with the car, and that's why it won't start. I don't know, probably isn't, but I've just got this little hope that that's the problem. Oh, it's really cold today, and that's been a really long day of tracing wires, cutting wires, joining wires, trying to get this car as much back to kind of how it should be as possible. Let me show you and kind of explain a little bit. So I've kind of put that back up there. I've taken out a lot of wiring. The only thing I'm left that I don't know what it is this. Which has been cable tied up. It goes to the door switch. So whether it joined into the headlight switch or something like that, I'm not sure, but that I'm just going to leave there for now. That's just the aerial antennae. I've taken out all the stereo stuff because it was just a mess anyway, and the connectors for it are here on this side, and obviously on the other side. That also had the electric mirrors, but all the electric mirrors stuff is gone, so there's no point having that either. So it's going to be a very bog standard 944. Someone can put it all back if they need to, I suppose, or want to. I've joined lots of wires that went to different places and stuff. They're all soldered connections now and things like that. So yeah, the only thing I don't know is that earth there. That must have gone somewhere. I'm not sure where that would have gone, so I need to find that still. But it looks a lot tidier. Well, a bit tidier anyway. I need to do some research, like what these relays are and what this is, which looks like a relay inside, but then it has like an air line going into it or something, or a vacuum line. So I need to find out what that is. It looks like there might have been something else there as well at some point. No idea about that. That was for the aircon. Yeah, there's loads of things that I've managed to disconnect and pull out. So the person that did this kind of wiring before me obviously took out a load of things. So it took out the air conditioning, took out the rear wiper, but then just left the wire in there. That's why it just looked such a mess under there. And because he'd fitted a new stereo at some point, is my theory, he'd taken loads of like earths and stuff from all over the place. So I put every earth back where I think it should go. And yeah, we'll see, won't we? It still won't start properly. So that wasn't the issue either. But at least the wiring's now kind of tidier and looks a bit more sorted. So that's something, isn't it? Right, good morning. I'm back in the garage. So I'm going to pause on the wiring for a bit on this Porsche 944. I've tidied it up pretty well, considering what it looked like before. Everything is connected to where it should be connected. That's that's about as much of my knowledge done, really. So I'm back onto the starting issue, and it's one that's really starting to, I don't know, blow my mind really. Let me show you what I've been doing this morning to try and diagnose the issue. So you can see I have put a gauge on the end of the fuel rail, and when I crank it gets up to 2 bar, which is what it should be. And then the pressure stays over time, so it has got pressure in the fuel rail. So it's not an issue of fuel pressure to the rail, so that's something to eliminate. Or rather, something we have eliminated. So it's got pressure to the fuel rail. It'll run if I put something flammable through the intake. The only thing left is the injectors are firing or not firing. So we've got fuel to the rail, we've got spark. It'll run through something flammable through the intake. So I think all of that side of things are working. It's the injectors themselves are either not firing or firing intermittently or whatever. But then again, I have tested those as well. So yeah, I'm just going to take a while just to think it through properly, because it's really started to get to me this now. It should run. So I've printed off this, which is the workshop manual for the Porsche 944 of my model year. Engine will not start or is hard to start, which is here. And then obviously each cross could be a reason for that. So we've got ground connections, power supply for the control unit, speed transmitter, so I can tick that off, reference mark transmitter, tick that off, ignition system, that's fine, airflow sensor, I don't know, fuel pressure is good, injector timings, don't know, temperature sensor, well it's new so that should be good, cold start enrichment, I don't think it would stop it starting, it would just cause a bad idle, throttle bypass valve and intake system leaks I think are both okay. So what it basically does in this workshop manual is give you a set of things to check, basically. It's like tests 1 to like 14 or something. So I'm going to work through them. It involves kind of taking the lead off the ECU and testing between different pins to see if there's a power supply to the ECU or DME, and a few other things. So I'm going to work through them, and then if I find an issue, I will let you know. Wiring and this type of stuff is not my forte, so I'm just trying to figure it out as I go along, really. So the first couple of tests are, so this is the plug for the ECU. Just see if you can see that. Yeah, so this is the plug for the ECU, and it says on this that I'm reading, test the power to this to make sure this is getting power. So you go on terminal 5 and terminal, so with the ignition on, terminal 35, which is up here, and we've got 12 volts, and then 18, which is the one below it, and we've got 12 volts. So we can rule that out. So all I'm going to do is go through this and just tick off everything that I can do. So the next test is on the airflow meter, and you're checking that kind of works as it should. Between terminal 9 and 6, which was that one and that one. It measured between them, it should be more than 8 volts. It was. So that's good. Now I'm going to test the operation of the actual flap inside. So it says pin 7, which is where I've got this in, and ground, it should be between 150 and 250, which it is. It's 173. And then as you open that, it will increase to 8 volts whilst it's fully open, which is 8.3 volts. And as it closes, it decreases. Obviously my ground connection here isn't amazing. But that's working as it should. So I can take that one off the list. The next test is the DME temperature sensor. Now, it's given a range of 15 to 30 degrees. However, it is a lot colder today, so I'm expecting a higher number. This is new, so it should work. This is with the ignition off, by the way. Yeah, 4.2, because it's like 6 degrees out here. It is very cold. So that's working. So let's have a look what's next. So there's a few tests in here that require an oscilloscope to test, which I can't do. So I'm skipping some of them, hoping it's not them, to be honest. So the test point 7 was the fuel pressure, which we've done. It's got 2 bars, which we proved before. The next one, though, is checking the fuel injector, which is the one I'm most interested in. So, engine can't be run, so ignore this bit here. If the engine cannot be run, measure the voltage on one plug connection of the injectors against ground. One of both terminals must have battery voltage if necessary to perform test point 2. And then specification 2 to 3 ohms on the coil resistance. But the new injectors, so that should be okay, but I can still test it. What was test point 2 was the power, which we have tested, and that's good. So now we're basically testing the wiring from that plug, or from that DME to the injectors. So I've got a test lead into one of the injector plugs, touch it to ground. I don't know if you can see that, but when it's on ground, it's got 12 volts, or a little bit less because my battery is a little bit dead. So I'll test that on that one, because that one shouldn't have any. So both of those have got 12 volts. It says here, one of both terminals must have battery voltage. So why would both of those have battery voltage? Let me find out why that could be. I'm going to try that test with the injector actually plugged in as well. That's got 12. And that's got 12 volts. I don't think both of those should have 12 volts going to them. We do some more research. I was trying to do this with my very limited knowledge. So I've done a bit of research and it says unplug all of them because they can get power from the other wires because they all link back to the ECU. Just unplug all of them and then do that test again. Well, helps if I turn this on. So that's got 12 volts. And that's got 10 volts, which is weird. Test another one. $12 volts. 10 volts. $12 volts. 10 volts. Someone's going to be screaming at the TV now or wherever you're watching this going, that's not right, or something. I have no idea. 10 volts. So is that correct? So let me do some more research. Is it correct to have 12 volts on one side and 10 volts on the other side? I don't know if I'm just confusing myself more here. But that leads me to think that the ECU is supplying power but not the switched ground. Like the ECU's ground isn't correct. or something. So now I need to look where that ECU should be grounded and have a look if that's functioning correctly. I'm very, very much in over my head here. So now I have the ground of the injector, which is I think it should be green and black, but it's white and black on this car, probably a faded wire, plugged into this wire here. Pin 15 on the ECU, so 18, 17, 16, 15 should be its connection. So I know the connection from the injector to the ECU is good for cylinders 1 and 2. So let's check cylinders 3 and 4. So that's now plugged into cylinder 3's ground on the injector. So 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. And that's connected there as well. You can see because this continuity has gone to 0. Okay, so that's good. So it's getting... The ECU is connected to the injector to switch the ground to be able to turn the injector on and off. I'm not finding any issues, which is the problem. I need to find an issue that I can fix. Everything that I'm testing at the moment just is all right. I think potentially I might have found an issue. Finally. So, pin number 2 is the idle throttle positioning sensor, and it should read 0 ohms with no throttle applied, which it doesn't, and it doesn't change when you press the accelerator down. You go into pin 3, which is, so that's now plugged into pin 3. You can see it's open there, which is what it should do. And then you press the accelerator and nothing happens. Which it did before. 2 seconds. I'll get a better ground. There you go. My ground wire isn't brilliant. But that does register. And just to double check that it wasn't the ground, so that's now pin 2 again. It does nothing no matter how good a ground I get. So it's like, if that's the case, it would suggest that the ECU then would think the throttle is wide open all the time for the idle. So that would affect starting it. It wouldn't put fuel in. So yeah, it should be infinite ohms when the throttle is wide open. And it's infinite ohms no matter where the throttle is. So that's got to be an issue. Whether that's the starting issue or not, I don't know. But I need to figure out a way of fixing that, or making it think that it is low, if you know what I mean. So maybe I connect a ground to one of the throttle positions, see if that works. So that there is the throttle positioning sensor. It's underneath here. So what I can do potentially is check if my leads are long enough. I can check the continuity between this and the ECU potentially to see if it is actually connected. Or if it's not, it's this sensor itself is had it or something. Right, so I've just been doing a test across pins 2 and 18, which is the middle pin and the one closest to me, which is very hard to kind of get your multimeter onto. Now, that should be reading 0 ohms. It's not. But when I close it a bit more, it does. It's like, but then you let the throttle go and it doesn't. Push it, it does. So that TVS is set slightly wrong. Like that. And then it does. So with that now reading, let's see if I can start the car and it works. Maybe that could be an issue. Everything is plugged back in, and you can hear the micro switch. Closing when you force the throttle closed. Now, I've connected everything back up, so hopefully this will start. It knows its throttle position now. It knows that it needs idle. It's got fuel pressure, 2 bar here. I can hear the injectors clicking. MOT sensor works, we've tested that. Again, it's doing that thing where it tries to start and then doesn't. So no, we've still not found the problem, because that should start, because it's got fuel. Ah, no. It's so strange, because look, I'll demonstrate. I mean, let's get something flammable. So we've got injector contact cleaner here. If I open the MOT sensor, spray that directly in there, close it, it wants to start then. So strange. Then once the injectors try and take over, it won't start. But the injectors are firing as they should. I need a helper really to turn the key whilst I listen to the injectors, just to make sure they are definitely firing. Oh dear. Now I want to get it started so I can do some tests on the injectors. So I've attached the jump pack. So that injector's firing. That injector's firing. That one's firing. That one's firing. So all the injectors are firing. I'm becoming so baffled by this. It runs now. Absolutely fine. Runs when you put some fuel or something flammable in the intake. Injectors now firing no problem. So what is causing it? It's got fuel pressure. Throttle position sensor is working when you force it back. MOT sensor is working. Everything's connected to the ECU. Everything's got grounds. It's still leading me to think that it's something wrong with those injectors, because it works when you spray something flammable in. So that means the spark's all good, but it's obviously just not throwing fuel in through those injectors when it's initially cranking the key, even though there's fuel pressure to the rail. Very, very strange. It's idling now, no problem. I think I might have to consult an expert on this one at some point, because I'm running out of things that I can do. I really, really want to get this reliably running so that I can move it around and get it out of the way of the MG and all that type of stuff. Very, very frustrating, this one. Right, it's actually a new day now, and I'm getting so frustrated with this Porsche that I've actually taken up vaping. Now, I don't condone vaping, but I wanted to try and find a vacuum leak to see if that was my reason why we might not be getting it to start correctly. So if I do this now, I have found a vacuum leak, and it's right down there, which is fantastic. You might just be able to, I've taped off the intake, you might just be able to see. It's going to be almost impossible for you to see, but it's underneath the intake right at the back over there. So basically what that means is I'm not going to be able to get to that, and I don't know exactly where it is with the manifold on. So we've got to do the unfortunate thing of removing the intake manifold to inspect everything under there and, yeah, see if we can finally get this car to start. I'm not convinced that a vacuum leak that looks reasonably small would stop the engine starting like that, but it is a vacuum leak and you never know. So let's crack on with just trying to kind of get this, taken off really. I'm going to try and leave as much as possible still attached. So hopefully I can just take this side of the intake off, and yeah, we'll see. But let's get the manifold off. The intake manifold is off. I've just kind of popped it over there. Probably crinking all kinds of fuel hoses and stuff, but never mind. And this is obviously the source of the vacuum leak. Someone's tried to tape it in the past, which is fantastic. So I'm just debating whether I need this circuit or not. You know, the idle control circuit, or whether I can just adjust the throttle stop on here and just have it idling under its own kind of yeah, bypass, if you like, just like you would do with a carburetor car. I am tempted, very tempted to do that. It would just get rid of another kind of layer of things potentially not being right with the car. Then I'm modifying it even more, aren't I? So I don't know, I need to have a think about it. Or I just try and find a replacement hose for that or something. The hoses are just an absolute mess on this car. So I've done some research, and it looks like you can delete that, or it looks like you can anyway. You just need to adjust the screw, as I said, on the throttle sensor. So I think we should do that, because it avoids a lot of vacuum leaks. The electronic one there, that one is for the air conditioning apparently. It lets more air in when the extra load of the air conditioning pump comes on. This car doesn't have air conditioning anymore. So that can go as well. So all these vacuum lines, everything can go, and what I can do is put the brake, vacuum assisted brake, I can't remember what it's called, but I can't remember what that's called, booster, the brake booster. I can hook directly into the manifold and then plug whatever other holes are there. Bit of a risk, but you never know. Let's do that, and then we can clean the engine up a little bit, which will make it look a little bit better. And yeah, try and start it and see if that's made any difference whatsoever. I've changed my mind. Let me show you. So I've been looking at this, and I think a better thing to do is just get rid of this one. It looks naff and it's doing nothing. So to do that, I can change this piece of pipe here with just a standard piece of pipe. Get rid of that side, and I can do the same with this one. Just put a standard piece of pipe here that goes into the manifold, and then it doesn't affect anything else then. All I've done is get rid of this bit of pipe. So I think that's the best option. It gets rid of that broken bit. It gets rid of all this nasty looking hose, but it keeps that idle circuit doing what it should do essentially. I think that's got like a bi-metal strip in it that when it heats up it opens, so I think they are pretty much good. They don't apparently go wrong very often. It might be worth me just cleaning it out a little bit whilst I'm at this. So yeah, change that pipe, and get rid of this is my plan now. Right, well, that's that all kind of boxed back up again. I broke one of the inlet gaskets, so I've put RTV sealant on, which I hate doing, but it saves having to wait for inlet gaskets and stuff. I will order some, and I should be able to just prise them open and just kind of slide some in at a later date. But I did a smoke test and they seem leak tight anyway, so that's all good. I will now attempt to start the car, and we will see if that was the issue, because it was quite a big vacuum leak actually. So you never know. Let's give it a go. Could potentially be a power thing now. The battery is a bit low. Right, it's got a bit more juice now. Let's try again. I think we can safely say that's not fixed the issue. What the hell is wrong with this car? Right, I'm clutching at straws here now, to be honest. Because I know I've got spark, so I don't know why I'm doing this. Maybe it's just not a strong enough spark to get it initially going. So I'm just going to give the edge of the rotor cap a little clean up. Some fresh metal there. Base where it touches the main, and coming from the coil, which is down there. That clean up. And give all the points in here a bit of a clean up. This has got to be one of the most stubborn cars I've ever had to try and get back running again. And it's a weird one because it does run. We know it runs, we've seen it run. So why is it so stubborn on this cold start? By this time, I thought this car would be through an MOT, but I've been spending weeks now trying to get this sorted. Maybe that'll teach me a lesson of buying a car that's too new for me. You watch, next time I'm going to buy like an Austin 7 or a Model T Ford or something. That's more my style, I think. This is electrical connection cleaner. Weird way of fastening these in, it's like an L bracket thing, which is very strange. A spring. And it kind of just goes into a slot. There you go, that's stuck on. So I don't think that's going to do anything, but we'll give it a go. Again, it kind of fires and then stops. Right, just off camera, I just checked the timing. Just found the little port at the top of the head, manually turned the engine over, got that to line up, checked it was top dead centre, took the spark plug out, had me crusty spark screwdriver, so you get top dead centre, that lined up, took the rotor cap off, it's lined up with piston 1, so the timing looked to be correct. Timing correct, no vacuum leaks, we have spark, we have injection. What is wrong with this car? I mean, it's a crap Porsche anyway. Why am I spending so much time on it? I don't know. I've got an MG there that needs to be finished. As you can see, I've taken the ECU out of the car just to open it up and see if there's anything obvious. But it all looks really clean. Nothing's burnt out. Like, obviously you can't tell if one of these chips has kind of failed inside, but everything, I was expecting to see like maybe something just burnt out or something, but no, I can't see anything. So I'm starting to think this purchase was a mistake. I'm spending so much time on it that I'm not getting to do other things that I actually want to do. So I need to have a think about that. But I mean, this has been over a month worth of filming so far, and what have I actually achieved? I've fixed a bit of rust on the quarter at the back of the sill, and I've painted a rear bumper, and that's it. I've changed so many parts. I've looked through so many wiring diagrams. I've been on so many forums, 944 forums, to try and figure it out. And I think what it probably needs is a new ECU. The ECU and the MAF sensor are the only things I have not changed. So maybe it is one of them. But an ECU is about £400. MAF sensor is about £200–250 for a used one. How much do I invest into it when I'm not necessarily going to get it back? It's a hard one, isn't it? I need to ponder that anyway. And because of that, I'm going to end the episode here. So, not the outcome I wanted out of this episode. I wanted this one to be MOT and it back on the road as a running driving project for someone. But it's just, yeah, not turned out as I expected. But if you want to see what does happen with this Porsche and whether I actually do end up doing that, yeah, please subscribe to the channel, comment on the video. If you are a Porsche 944 expert and you know what it is, and you've watched everything I've done and you've gone, you've not done this, then please comment, because it will really help me. Like it, and if you could give it a hype, it's a new feature on YouTube that I've not really pushed on you, but hype apparently makes a big difference for those videos, so there's a button you can click for that. I will see you next time, where hopefully I will actually get to the bottom of what this issue is.